Yes, you could do this yourself. You could write your own stuff. You could do your own SEO. You could use ChatGPT to help out. You could optimize it yourself. You could take courses to understand this, and you could run your own ads. And I would bet you $100 we would do it better. And so I think the question comes down to how much better can we do it, and is it worth it to you?
Welcome to the Neon Buzz, where we offer marketing advice for oral, aesthetic, and other elective healthcare professionals. Sit back and relax while we share our digital marketing secrets to help you grow your practice.
Hello, and welcome to, the Neon Buzz. Usually I say the Digital Orthodontist Live, and I'm Dr. Kyle Fagala and all that, but this is different. This is sort of like a weird takeover of sorts, right?
Exactly.
And I'm joined by you, Emily.
Yes.
And your information is right there on the screen, or so I'm told.
Should be.
It should be.
Check down here.
And here's why we're doing this. I get a ton of objections in person when I go to meetings about working with a digital marketing firm or agency. And, quite frankly, some of the objections make sense. Some of them are a little unfair. But who better to bring these objections to than to digital marketing experts, people who do this for a living? Believe it or not, there's people that this is all they do. And Emily is one of those people. She is our head copywriter. She's an excellent writer. She helps me with a lot of the writing that I do. And I wanted to bring some questions to her that I get and that I receive, that our sales team receives, and that I see sometimes on the Facebook groups. And so if you're wondering, is digital marketing a waste of money? Are there things that I can do myself without needing to use a digital marketing agency? And so on and so forth. We're going to go through these objections right now. So, top objections for a copywriter working in the marketing world. Objection 1, and I might even ask some of these from my own perspective too, but
Sure.
What's the point of having a regular blog? People say this all the time. No one reads them anyway. And you know what? I don't read blogs. So why do we need a blog?
You know, that's my favorite thing to hear personally as a copywriter. You can imagine.
After writing hundreds of blogs.
Yeah. But you'll be surprised to find that, honestly, that's really not the point of a blog for this particular purpose. You're really going to use your blog for SEO. That's the biggest reason that you have a blog on your website, is to provide updated, consistent content that Google can then read to be sure that you're kind of still active. So it's a little bit like touching the mouse on the computer to wake it back up.
Okay. All right. So the fact that I don't read blogs doesn't really matter. What I've kind of heard before is that just because you don't read blogs doesn't mean that someone else doesn't.
Absolutely.
So I know there are people that do read the blogs. And I mean, I have them come in for consultations. They'll say, yeah, I read your post on this or that or whatever. I'm thinking, you did, because I didn't. Because that work is done for me by other people. But there are times and places where I have read blogs where I'm looking at information about maybe a medical procedure, or I'm trying to buy a four-wheeler or a golf cart or something like that.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, when people are searching for information online, it's usually a blog that's going to be answering their questions. And so I don't mean to say that they're not important in that way, but the primary purpose of them is going to be for SEO, to deliver more traffic to your site.
Right. Okay.
It still needs to be genuinely helpful content. So for the people that do come to your site and do read the blog, which there are those out there, it provides an outlet for them for you to be the answer to their questions, because you always want to be the one that's answering their questions. Blog content is great for repurposing. You can use it for email marketing purposes. You can take it, chop it up, and use it for social content too. So it's not just kind of like a one and done situation. There's a lot of purposes for it. But what I do want to steer, people away from is this idea that it's like, I don't know, it's not a soapbox. It's not a place for you to get up there and say what you might think is the best way to do X, Y, or Z. You really should be answering specific questions that searchers are actually looking for.
Okay. Kind of as I understand it, for what it's worth, is you want to be talking about the things that are the keywords.
Yes.
The keywords that people are searching for. And that's really what search engine optimization is to optimize your website around the things that people are actually searching Google for. And that sounds like kind of like self-evident and obvious, but that is the purpose. And maybe you could say that you have two audiences. You have the audience of potential patients in your area that want to read it and want to learn something. But then I guess in fact, you have Google and like its little spider that's crawling around your website deciding if this is authoritative or this is good or this contains the words that people are searching for. And so that's kind of like the little mix. And then also you got a third audience, which is like people in Saudi Arabia who are never going to visit your practice, but they help tell Google that your website is good.
Yeah.
So there's always that. When you look at like what countries people view your stuff, it's pretty mind-blowing. So anyway, all right. Well, you've convinced me that blogs are potentially useful. Okay.
Very useful.
Very useful.
Very useful.
Okay, not even just potentially, but very useful without any doubt. I mean, we've been blogging for over a decade. And when I look at our web traffic, the majority of the traffic to the website is through the blog. It's through blog posts. Some of the old ones, 8-9 years ago, still get like hundreds and hundreds of visits a month. So it is relevant for sure. And it's something you need to be committed to long term. I think the follow-up question, though, that is a new question is, okay, blog content's important. Gotcha. ChatGPT, I use it every day. Whatever AI you use, whatever that may be, I use ChatGPT, and it will write pretty well. I mean, pretty much every email that I write now, it goes through ChatGPT.
Right.
Maybe I give it the ideas or whatever, but it will kind of turn that into writing. So why shouldn't I just write my own blogs using ChatGPT? Why do I need to pay somebody to write blogs for me?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think ChatGPT can be very helpful. I think it can be a tool in your arsenal if you were to write a blog theoretically.
Sure.
But what ChatGPT can't do is the keyword research for you. So it's not going to be able to provide you with exactly what your audience is searching for and implement it the exact number of times within the blog that you need it to be to actually rank in Google. It's not going to be able to do the linking for you. Internally within your website or externally to other sites.
Okay.
And these are things that you're not really going to be thinking about if you're not a consistent blog writer, right? Like you don't normally think about links, I'm sure, or
I do think about links quite a bit, but I'm an exception to the rule.
Yes.
I'm a hyperlink guy. But yeah, no, I get your point. Yeah, no, most people are not even aware of that and or thinking about that. Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, not to get too technical, but there are specific ways that you want to add links that, it takes some training to know. And the other thing that I keep going back to is that, AI prompt writing is becoming its own field. It's becoming its own thing as AI engines grow and take up more of the market.
Sure.
There's a way to do it. There's a way to get out what you want. But for the everyday user, if you're going to try to do it fast, you're probably going to get one of, 100 templated kind of responses that end up ultimately sounding the same to both your audience and to Google.
Sure. I'll be honest with you. I'm a firm believer in most things are pretty simple at the end of the day. And we live in the information age and we have access to anything. You want to know how to cook a French omelet? You can figure that out. You want to know how to put up drywall? Hey, knock yourself out. Like all that. I'm a drummer. Like you want to figure out how to play the most complicated rudiment or pattern in the world. That information exists online now. That didn't used to be the case. And then now we have AI that even helps speed some of that along. Mm-hmm. The thing is, though, the great equalizer in all that is, will you? Like, will you actually do it? Will you actually research it? Will you actually learn how to do it? And I think as an orthodontist who's running a business that ostensibly has a family and hobbies and other things going on, is writing a blog, even with the help of ChatGPT, and posting it and optimizing it and advertising it and pushing it out to the public such that your website ranks higher than it did before, and doing that month over month over month for multiple years, is that the best use of your unique time and talents? My answer to that would be probably not. However, I'm a huge believer in do your own thing, figure it out, do it yourself, learn how to do it. Even if you end up not doing it and you do outsource it, it does empower you to know how it works and understand it. So my very first entry into orthodontics was helping people do social media and do these things on their own. And I did my own blog posts. I would write them and do the hyperlinks and get into the HTML, have a little bit of a background in websites and HTML enough to be dangerous, but most people don't. And anytime I've walked people through that, eyes kind of roll in the back of their head and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so to me, this falls in this category of, sure, it is easier now to get things written, but to have something written and to have that in your hand is only so useful if it's not implemented and it's not done. And as you said, if it's not done in an expert way that's going to help you rank higher over time.
Absolutely. Because you could just be putting content out there and you can just keep putting it out there and keep putting it out there. It doesn't mean it's good content. It doesn't mean it's going to help you overall.
Sure. And it also doesn't necessarily add up into an overall strategy that we would help you come up with. Not to mention, there is an aspect of you get the blog, you put it online, but then what do you do with it after that? And that kind of comes into the next thing, at least on some level, is about advertising. And so obviously you can amplify your blog messaging, let's say through social media, let's just say Facebook. You put a blog there. To be frank, a blog post is not just going to blow the internet up. It's not going to be viral overnight, unless it's like a really special blog post. But a blog post about how to clean your retainer, probably not, breaking the internet. But what we can do as a company is we can go and amplify that. We can target specific people, send that out to them such that your website gets more clicks and at best generates leads that are actionable. And at the same time, help to feed your website in such a way that Google ranks you higher. So that's kind of like part of the strategy. Again, something probably most orthodontists aren't going to take the time to do. But let's say that you're someone that's really like motivated and you want to do it yourself and you look up some YouTube videos and you enroll in a course and you're like, I'm going to do my own advertising. I'm going to advertise my own blog posts on social media and I'm going to do my own Google ads. Why should you pay a company to do that when you could do it yourself?
Well, I think, right now we can even see you're already building up your to-do list,
Yeah, things are getting busy.
Things are getting very busy.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of courses to take. But saying you did do all of that, when is the last time you got into the back end of your Google Ads manager?
See, I even own an agency and it's been probably a couple years.
Yeah, it's a complicated system.
Sure.
The user interface is very technical and you really have to dig into whatever course you're going to take, if that's what you're going to do, to know even how to operate it, And once you've done that, you have to marry the keyword strategy that you've used from your blog's, content strategy, as well as just understanding how the Google ad placement works. So you might have display ads that appear on different websites across Google that kind of appear to people who are interested in the same subject as what you're offering. You have search ads, that are going to appear at the very top of whatever query someone is searching for. So it might be like orthodontist near me, for example. But you have to have the know-how and the experience to know which sets do you want to run.
Sure.
You have to know how to do the A/B testing. And it's the same goes for like meta ads too. And that's an entirely different interface that you would have to learn. Equally as technical, but you have to know how to dig in there and you have to be willing to go through the amount of experimenting and A/B testing to see it through the end so that you're not wasting time and money and energy.
Yeah, no, I get that. I have tried to run some of my own ads a little bit in the past, and there's some that I feel comfortable with and that I would even encourage people to do. Like, to me, boosting a post on Facebook or Instagram, pretty easy. It's hard to sort of break that. But there's always an opportunity to optimize it further. And instead of like picking 10 miles around my office, well, you can upload like a custom list and you can do a lookalike, audience, and you can, narrow it down to maybe you want to target, professional men and women between the ages of 35 and 46 based on the ad. I mean, There's a lot of stuff that you can do. And so it's always one more level of sophistication that, to me, it's like the difference in anything. It's the difference in a pretty good piece of pizza at Sbarro versus a piece of pizza at the best place in New York that uses a coal fire oven. Like, there's a difference, and yet it's still pizza. And I think it's actually the key difference between orthodontists who provide orthodontic treatment and general dentists or pediatric dentists, no offense, who do orthodontic treatment. Maybe they get lucky once in a while. Maybe it works. Maybe it functionally is, orthodontic treatment. But we would argue that, well, it's not the same thing. It's not really apples to apples. And so I think on some level, it is a cost to benefit ratio of how we approach this decision. Yes, you could do this yourself. You could write your own stuff. You could do your own SEO. You could use ChatGPT to help out. You could optimize it yourself. You could take courses to understand this, and you could run your own ads. And I would bet you $100 we would do it better. And so I think the question comes down to how much better can we do it, and is it worth it to you? And I think for most people, it's not a question of how much better. It's like, I'm either doing it or I'm not.
Sure.
And I would say that us doing it at a price that I think is very reasonable and justifiable and measurable, you can see what your return is better than not doing it at all.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, I just answered that objection. We answered that objection, Emily. We answered it.
We did.
So, this has been enlightening. Who knew that, 20 so minutes with a content writer could be so fun? right?
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Exactly. So, but truly, Emily and people like Emily who do writing for a living, they are very good at it, especially someone who's focused completely on copywriting for healthcare professionals, as it were.
Yeah.
Who better to ask these questions to? So thank you, Emily, for doing that. We'll be back with more objections from orthodontists about why you should work with a digital marketing agency, or why you shouldn't, I guess. And hopefully we've answered some of those today. And thanks for letting me take over the Neon Buzz a little bit.
Absolutely. Flipping the script a little bit.
Just a little bit. I got new cards, but they're still black, and it feels right.
Yeah.
It just feels right. So
It does.
anyway, thanks for tuning in. We will see you very soon.